In the news this week, the Northern Ireland Assembly blocks attempts to liberalise abortion law, Ofsted comes under fire in Parliament, and MSPs reject a bill to introduce presumed consent for organ donation. Hello and welcome to this week's news bulletin from the Christian Institute. The Northern Ireland Assembly has blocked plans to weaken protections for the unborn. MLAs at Stormont voted 59-40 against allowing abortion in cases of fatal fetal abnormality. An amendment permitting abortion in cases of sexual crime was defeated by 64 votes to 32. During a lively and occasionally heated debate, MLAs spoke out against attempts to weaken the law.
Medical experts advise that there is no such a term as fatal fetal abnormality. The test and balance of proof is not clearly articulated within this amendment. Key voices of expertise are missing.
I believe that every human life is valuable and must be protected. It should not matter how profoundly disabled a baby is, or whether that condition will ultimately limit the ability to survive outside of the womb, nor how the child was conceived. All human life is equal and worthy of protection. Unborn children in these instances require no less protection and respect than any other unborn child.
The Christian Institute's Northern Ireland officer Callum Webster described the result as heartening. There has been a media campaign to undermine the legal protections afforded to our unborn children, but thankfully politicians have resisted that coordinated pressure. Abortion is not good healthcare for women. Before the debate, Northern Ireland's Attorney General John Larkin QC raised concern that the proposals could breach the UN Convention on Rights for Disabled People. The DUP has asked Health Minister Simon Hamilton to set up a working group to look into fatal fetal abnormalities. The government has come under renewed fire for pushing ahead with plans to weaken Sunday trading laws. This week, amendments were tabled to the Enterprise Bill despite widespread concern about the threat to family life and pressure on workers. The government released its response to a consultation on the issue, which noted concerns from trade unions, religious bodies, and a number of small businesses and individuals. But it claims that the majority of local authorities and large and medium-sized businesses who responded were supportive. Ministers intend that the changes, which would give local councils power to extend Sunday shopping hours, will be implemented in the autumn. Conservative MP David Burrows has said he hopes the government will be defeated over its plans, as a number of MPs from different parties are set to oppose them. The Christian owner of toy shop chain The Entertainer told BBC Radio 4's World at One programme that the government has been undemocratic in pushing through these plans.
At the end of the day, 3 months ago, David Cameron was forced to scrap a vote on this due to revolt within the Conservative Party. And now, 3 months later, we tuck this, what would be a life-changing change in legislation, into an enterprise bill. It just doesn't make sense in the way that the government's pushing this through. And if you see that to the end, councils can have a choice. A council could zone an area, so you could have half of your high street open and half of your high street closed. You could have one town open and the neighbouring town closed. And I just think this is pouring out tremendous pressure on councils to conform. They're being pushed into this.
A Liberal Democrat MP has warned Parliament that schools regulator Ofsted is unaccountable and operates in a fundamentally unjust manner. Speaking in the House of Commons on Tuesday, John Pugh cautioned that schools have no way of protesting against decisions by inspectors.
As a country, we're almost unique in currently having such a heavy-duty, high-stakes, expensive and unaccountable public body policing our schools. We have what can become at its worst the teaching equivalent of the Spanish Inquisition, where careers go up in flames at the mere whiff of educational heresy. Now, inspection, I recognise, does have a valued role in education, but the way we currently do it in England via the bloated bureaucratic beast that Ofsted has become is clumsy, it's poor value for money, and it's unaccountable. And critically, there's no independent appeal on matters of substance.
Pugh brought forward a 10-minute rule bill intended to establish the right of schools and academies to challenge the timing and format of school inspections and appeal against the outcomes of such inspections. The Christian Institute heavily criticised Ofsted last year after inspectors asked children intrusive and inappropriate questions in a series of British values inspections. Serious complaints about the questioning were not adequately followed up. And finally, MSPs have blocked attempts to introduce an opt-out system for organ donation in Scotland. Scottish Labour MSP Anne McTaggart's bill would have created a presumed consent system. It would also have allowed for decisions to be made on behalf of a deceased patient by a nominated proxy. Public Health Minister Maureen Watt's amendment to stop it proceeding to the next stage was backed by 59 votes to 56. During the debate, SNP MSP Christine Graham pointed out the bill's key problem.
How can one presume consent? That's an oxymoron. Consent is greatly defined in Scots law. The consenting party must have capacity. They may not have this through age or mental capacity. It must be informed. Opting in does that, opting out does that, but silence does not. It must be freely given, and all of the above must be evidenced by the facts. In my view, any bill which introduces the idea of a presumption of consent when there is no evidence as to the individuals flies in the face of a basic principle of Scots law.
Maureen Watt's amendment also asked the government to launch a consultation on the issue. The SNP government has said it intends to introduce similar legislation in 2017. Well, that's all for this week. For more information and regular updates on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.